So when I work on individuals, I'm not sacrificing myself. In fact, I'm learning more about myself. How many of you out there, sacrifice yourself for the kids, especially a mom or a dad, right? It's not beneficial for the kids, by the way. It destroys your kids. It destroys your company. It destroys your employees, and the technologies, the fantastic technologies that say that individuals sacrifice themselves for, that sacrifice pattern is in the technology. So when you start to use that technology, again, you're sacrificing something.
I think we can all agree that we're all on our own journeys. And normally we talk about Masati helping you with your journey and helping me with mine. But today we're going to reverse things and we're going to take an in-depth look at Masa's journey himself and how that has evolved over the course of years. So welcome to Xponential Intelligence. We're going to dive into today's episode in a moment. But first, because this is such a visual episode that we're doing, if you're listening to the podcast, certainly continue to listen to the episode. You're going to get a lot from it, but we would highly encourage you to come back to the YouTube channel, for example, and watch the episode, because we're going to be sharing screen and going back into your YouTube channel, Mas, to talk about where you were at in so many different aspects of your life back when. So an exciting episode ahead of us here. I'm excited personally because, I know a lot about you from interviewing you and being part of this podcast process, but going back 11 years, going back 7 years, 5 years will be really interesting. So tell me a little bit about how you, maybe remind people how it is that you came to have these abilities in the first place, to be able to read people's frequencies and to be able to scan people in the first place.
I had 2 near-death experiences. And I guess the big difference, because there's a lot of near-death experiences, but the big difference is between my near-death experiences and those individuals who really benefit from near-death experiences. Again, like Anita Murjani, she wrote this book, Dying to Be Me. She cured herself of cancer. There's people who become really good at, say, solving math problems, or they become geniuses, and all that. So the difference between those types of individuals, which include me, and then those individuals who have a near-death experience and their life might go down more or, stay the same or whatever, is that at some point, we're awakened. So when we get that near-death experience, it takes us, it allows us to, say we're at level 1, it allows us to jump, several levels higher, or maybe into a total different dimension. And then this is where we get great abilities. Like, again, Anita Murjani allowed herself to heal, right? I got the ability to literally look at your frequencies, or how you render, you create yourself, and change those frequencies with you. And that's really key. So I get to the top level reason on why your life is the way it is and help you change it like that nowadays. And I do say like that because back in the day, it would probably take me an hour or 2 to do what I can do now in maybe a minute.
Well, we're going to show some examples here in a moment. Yeah. I just wanted to mention that we will link the previous episodes that you've done where you've in depth talked about your near-death experiences, so people can really get the full sense of what those experiences were actually like for you. So I want to share my screen, Mas, and let's start diving in. This is a video. I went back on your YouTube channel and I sorted the videos out from oldest to newest. And this video is the first video that you posted on your YouTube channel, which has now thousands and thousands of subscribers. So that's fantastic. Tell me a little bit about where you were at in terms of your abilities. You mentioned that what you can do now is faster than even at this time, but this looks, I don't know. I mean, this looks like your abilities were very, very strong, even from the outset.
Yes, they were very, very different. And again, it's all about frequencies, and there's different levels of frequencies. It's not energy healing or anything like that. What I would describe my as I know more and more, and as I know the science behind my abilities, it's more I get to the origin or your base blueprint on how you change. So I don't edit your frequencies. I edit how you, say, create your frequencies. So what I was doing there is, like, there's a version of her of what she thinks she is, right? Like here. So when I touch her is like, I allow her to create herself in another dimension or create another simulation of herself. as I understand it today. So what that means is like there's a version of her here rendering herself, and then there's a version over here, and it is again location. It's in the fourth dimension. It's the location in time and space. So there's two versions of her. It's like, hey, you know what? Your dimension, your version is here. A better version is here. And then when her body moves like that, it's like that this version of herself is morphing or switching from there to here. And then her body starts to adapt, or her body starts to change. And this is where, like for her, her back, her lower back and so on, the pain would like disappear immediately, because this version of her doesn't have low back issues.
Yeah,
That makes
it's
sense to you.
fascinating. And as we go, that was 11 years ago, or in
Holy shit.
2010. I'll say the year because people can
Wow.
watch this video in the future. In 2010, that's when that particular incident happened at that event, that healing event. And then
Wow.
if we, yeah, I mean, does it feel like 11 years to you, or how does it feel? I
No,
feel like that
time
time just
is,
elapsed really quickly.
yeah, time, I can edit time and change time, and that's what I do for people, change time and space. So for me, time is 11 years sounds like a long time ago, but it could also feel like yesterday
True.
for me as well. You know what I mean?
True. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I found another one. I'll show it on the screen.
Mhm.
And again, just a reminder to those listening to the podcast, come back to the YouTube channel, search for Masajati, you'll see the channel, and you'll be able to find this and see the videos that we're talking about here.
Yeah.
But I want to show another one. This is from about, I think 7 years ago. What
Okay.
struck me about the video I'm about to share and get your reaction to is
Mhm.
how you look. I hope you don't mind me pointing that out, but you
No, no.
did allude to it.
Yeah.
You look so different, Mas. You look
Mhm.
younger now in your 60s than you did then.
Yeah.
And I know you have also a photo that we're going to also share in a moment, but I want to
Yeah.
get your reaction to it. So let's just go into this video. This is from 2015, where it looks like an opening to a session that you're doing with a couple of people here by the ocean.
Yeah.
But just looking at you physically look so different.
Yes. So I do. And that's the cool thing, because when you say dedicate your life to helping people, whether it's what I do, healing like this, or if you're trying to bring in, say, a new technology, whichever one, it doesn't really matter. But most people think that you would have to say, sacrifice yourself, sacrifice your health, sacrifice your family, sacrifice whatever it is to create this outcome that's better for, say, society, not necessarily you. Most people do that. In the XI world, you don't need to do that. You literally, as you enhance yourself, as you expand yourself, you allow other people to expand. So you're not say exchanging garbage, or you're not exchanging, say, suffrage or anything like that. You're allowing to clean up your garbage. And that's what I do, clean up my garbage. And then as I clean up my garbage, I work on people, and that's why I look younger and so on as I work on individuals. And then it allows them to go, hey, this guy is really, really clean. He doesn't have a lot of garbage. He doesn't have a lot of, say, baggage. He doesn't have a lot of, say, genetic patterns from the past. And then at a deeper level, where communication happens at a very, very deep level, beyond, verbal words and body language and even psychology, there are things that we exchange called frequencies, right? And then what they do is they pick up on the concept, or the idea is like, wow, this guy's really clean. He's running a higher version of human. I call it first principle human. And it's like, I need to do that. And then that's how I get rid of my, whatever it might be, back issues or financial issues or anything like that. So again, it's not psychology. So when I work on individuals, I'm not sacrificing myself. In fact, I'm learning more about myself. How many of you out there, sacrifice yourself for the kids, especially a mom or a dad, right? It's not beneficial for the kids, by the way. It destroys your kids. It destroys your company. It destroys your employees, and the technologies, the fantastic technologies that, say, that individual sacrificed themselves for, that sacrifice pattern is in the technology. So when you start to use that technology, again, you're sacrificing something.
Do you feel like in the process of your journey, again, starting with the abilities that you were given from the two near-death experiences, We've been
Yes.
seeing examples of you working on other people energetically. But in that process of your own journey, have you been essentially healing yourself as well through your own abilities? Is that how it works?
Absolutely. And what happens is, uh, as I understand myself more, because we're all human, right? We're all same species. As I understand myself more, I understand what's going on with the person, that I'm working on. Does that make sense? And
Yeah.
then I relate to, say, that person, right? And then it's like, oh, and that's the way humans evolve, by the way, right? So again, without sacrifice, I relate to that person. It's like, yeah, I know where you're coming from because I've been there. In fact, I've been bankrupt. I've been divorced. I've been ill. I've died literally in deep state meditations thousands of times. Again, I understand where you're coming from. In fact, I would speak the same language as you would, because I can tap into, say, how you're created and see it the way you are. Okay. So again, yes, I've got a lot of experience, and that's what makes me different as well, is like I see it from your perspective, but then I also see other possibilities of you as well, if that makes sense. So, and
Yeah.
then I change, I go, yeah, you're here, but this is another possibility for you. But as I do that, for me, it's like, oh, I understand why this mechanism works the way it does, especially working on, hundreds of thousands of, say, sessions, right? I go, I understand this mechanism now. I can change it at a deeper level for myself.
You have a photo I know that you want to share on the screen.
Yes,
I think this would be a great time to share it. This is
this
the
is,
before and after of
yes.
Masajati, which is fascinating. Can you tell us what time frame are we looking at here? How many years
Um,
difference?
this was, I think, on the left, before 2010. And then on the right, and again, a lot of changes came, divorce, and, you think, like, say, for example, divorce to destroy you, right? A lot of people get destroyed from divorce. In fact, I changed so much, because why was I running a toxic relationship? What was it in me that allowed that toxic relationship to happen, right? And over here to the right, I think this is like 20, gosh, I want to say around 2018, 2019.
Okay.
So, but you can see the difference. It's not just texture, or, because a lot of people, they take care of themselves, they eat the right foods and so on like that, but it's the underlying frequencies. I actually look and feel and resonate as a more youthful, or, say, ageless type person. If that makes sense to you. You can't
Yeah.
really tell, I'd look, I don't know, whatever age people tell me I look like in my, mid 40s and so on like that, which is really a compliment, because, like you said, I'm 61. But then I look ageless as well. And look at the eyes as well. There's more vibrancy.
Yeah.
And again,
Thank
health wise, I'm at, I just went to the doctor, actually. Look at this one,
you.
2010, 2016.
Wow.
Kind of crazy, right?
It
And
doesn't
again,
even look like the
no
same person,
makeup.
Moss. It doesn't
That's
look
what
like
I'm
the same
that's what I'm
person.
saying. It's
No.
your identity. It's not psychology, because psychology doesn't change you like this. Eating good foods and doing all that stuff doesn't change your psychology. You're still the genetics that you are. This literally, XI literally changes your genetics that you're seeing. And that's why you feel like a totally different person when you start to, you become, again, that first principle human, or the best possible version of who you are. Isn't that crazy? 2010
It's wild.
and 2016.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy, right?
Yeah. And so as far as your journey is
Mhm.
concerned, when you look back on
Yes.
pictures like that, do you think back and think to yourself, I felt like a different person at that point
Oh,
in many
absolutely.
different ways?
Absolutely. The way I look at relationships, the way I look at love, the way I look at, my kids, I've always been, according to my kids, a really good father. But compared to the father I am now, or a leader, basically, to my kids, and then to, I guess, I don't know, tens or hundreds of thousands of people around the world, you know, uh, I could, I wanted to be that perfect leader, So it really allowed me to understand what leadership is, understand what, the benefit of for that person is.
Yeah.
And if you look at that, it shows in my facial structure. And again, if you do that the proper way, your facial features, your facial structure literally changes.
And Moss, it
By
also
meditation.
is, I
Mhm.
think, is reflected in content. And we're just
Yeah.
using today your YouTube channel as an example of that
Yes.
progression because it's the most visual way that we can see
Right.
that.
Right.
But even looking through, and now we're at the point in your YouTube channel, looking from oldest to newest, we're
Mhm.
looking at about the 5 year ago mark, right?
Right.
And even your content, and branding aside, branding changes over the course of
Of
years, and
course.
we can,
Yeah. Mhm.
look at, but even just from a content perspective, you're much more active here about the 5 year mark. I think this is
Right.
when you officially launched your Exponential Intelligence podcast, which
Mhm.
we're doing right now.
Yes.
And so tell me a little bit about where your mindset was at that point when you decided that, I'm going all in, because it's very apparent that around that 5 year, 4 year mark, from this point, you were really committed to the
Mhm.
content.
Yes. Well, it took me about 5 years, and again, a lot of work even before, I started working on people as a business about 11 years ago. It took me a lot to prove to myself that what I had as, say, now I call it an actual science, what I had was really viable because I wanted to understand the science behind it. It's not just the woo-woo stuff, but I really wanted to understand, say, the science and the logic behind it before I go, okay, I'm really confident. Because you can ask me any question, or people can ask me any question pretty much about anything, and I can tap into that consciousness or how stuff works. And I know it sounds crazy, and it might sound like egotistical or anything like that, but again, I really thrive on the hard questions on why life is the way it is, and I can explain it at a very detailed level. So I wanted to get to that, say that level of conditioning, or that level of, say, mastery before I went out to the public, because I wanted to be confident that it works in each and every situation. Now, before that 5 year mark, it was about working on a ton of people, understanding the concepts, understanding why people get ill, or the different layers or the different reasons why people get ill or why they don't make money and so on. And then over time, I had enough, say, experience under my belt to go, this is the reason why you are where you are, and I can just read it right away. By the way, about 11 years ago, it would take me about 15-20 minutes to meditate on my own, and then it would take me to psych into that state. um, uh, so basically I would transform into, say, that person that could help you heal. And then it would take me about an hour and a half. I used to have hour-and-a-half sessions back then. Okay. And nowadays, people go, your sessions are only like 10 minutes long. I don't even need 10 minutes anymore, by the
Right.
way. At today, I can work on you just like talking through, and many of you might actually experience just listening to the XI podcast, say, transformations. So that's how powerful it is when you start to become, say, a powerful or clear individual. And by the way, it's not just me. People who clean up, they become powerful individuals, and that's how you really heal or transform people.
The amount of time in terms of the journey that you've been on, you have noticed that it takes you less time to tap into those abilities and to be able
Yes.
to get people results.
Absolutely. Because again, it's not psychology. It's not decades of therapy or anything like that. It's your frequencies. And again, frequencies, what does that mean? It Now I understand it more and more, and I'm transitioning more and more into, the science behind XI, because it literally is a very different science. It's crazy how this science, and I call it the top level science, or again, first principle science, outside of Newtonian physics, or you've got Newtonian physics, and then you've got quantum physics, and then you've got, I would call, XI physics, because it literally explains, and there's no exceptions to the rule. So I've gotten to the point, or the mastery, that if I it's like, this is why X happens, and there's no exceptions to that rule, or there's no exceptions on that. So when you can get to that level consistently, you're at a top level, or you're at a mastery level. So, and the content here shows that. and like Moss on Sundays, it tells you the real definitions or the top level definitions on, I mean, I just did one on honor, what honor really is, what honor is really about. And it's a very different definition than most people say employ in their life. So,
Yeah. And you can see that it is reflected in the content and the topics that you cover, not only on the podcast, but on, again, your Moss on Sunday, which is your live stream Sunday show. And it's phenomenal to see the depth of content and the depth of knowledge and insight and expertise that you share, not only on your YouTube channel, we're using that as the example here, but across all of your channels, including Facebook, Instagram and others. And
well,
so
we have a series. I have a series called, the lecture series, and it's kind of like masterclass for those individuals. And this is where I'm going to be doing more and more of my stuff, literally documenting how XI physics sees things. And it literally goes into how space and time work, how, multi-dimensions work, and all these things that scientists have theories on, I'm actually in. This is how I change people, the multiverse and all that stuff. So XI can explain all those. And that's the level of mastery that I've gotten over time. Again, in the past, it was about, cleaning up people and I still do that, by the way. But now it's like, how can I help more people, in a shorter period of time? Right.
I think
So
this is
again,
a great time to talk about the world meditation that you've started to do.
yes,
And I think it's phenomenal. Well, first of all, the number of people who join you for those XI world meditations and that you do them live. And it's really a bringing together. And again, this does tie into your journey, right? Is this decision to want to bring people in energetically in real time, in that same moment in time, to share in this process. And how did that come to you? What was it? Was there any type of inspiration, or what was it that led you to say, you know what, I really want to do a world meditation, as opposed to doing it in small groups and larger groups that you have been doing for many, many years?
When I decided to do the XI World Meditations, it's literally at a level where it's like, no, I can step into that space and talk comfortably about, say, the politics of the world, or the wars, of why the wars keep happening, or why inflation happens, and why those things happen at a much, much deeper level. So that's why I stepped into the world. And we're not going to change it by, say, changing laws again, or changing again technology, because we've tried that in the past, right? We've tried technologies to save the planet from pollution. We've tried, say, whatever laws and all that to save human trafficking and human slavery, but it still exists. So again, what is the human condition that allows that to, say, allow us to destroy ourselves like that? So when I decided on the world meditation, it's like, hey, wait a second. If we get enough people, because it's about people, and it's about people waking up and taking ownership of their life. This is about you coming into a higher version, taking control of your life, and looking at the stuff that doesn't work for you, just doesn't work for you anymore, and standing up to yourself and going, hey, I need to fucking change. And then when you change, my kids will change, my loved one will change, the world will change. And then this is how we literally change the world. And that's what the world meditations come about, is like, we start that internal change ourselves, and then we demand, because not from a weak perspective, but we as human beings are at a higher level of frequency, or again, a change of consciousness, right?
Yeah.
We are such a strong individual as the masses. And then the politicians, the leaders, and so on go, oh, okay, they're not going to fall for our foolery or our charades anymore, right? We better give them real answers. We better give them real solutions. So again, it's up to us to change the world. Right?
Yes, I love that. And I am so excited to see what the next stage of your journey entails. It's been fun on this episode of Exponential Intelligence to go back in time, up to 11 years ago, 7 years ago, 5, 4, to the present moment. And it's, I think, enlightening for a lot of us to see your journey, because I think we can see ourselves in your journey. Everyone is on their own type of journey. Yours just happens to be one of healing and guiding people through the process of getting to their own self-actualized limitless potential.
Right.
And that's why you have so many followers. That's why you have so
Yeah.
many fans. And
Well, because it
so,
works. It's
because it
bottom
works.
line, because it works. It
Yeah.
changes your life radically.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take decades. It literally takes maybe just a few minutes. But before, I'd be laughed at, and, the medical community and the science community would be laughing at me and so on like that. Just like any other new invention or new concept, at the first stage is ridicule, and laugh. And then they vehemently oppose you. And I went through that stage. In fact, I have this crazy stalker. So if you see, negative, say, publicity out there, it's just this one lady out there. But it's like, that doesn't work, or it's not. So again, you get really, violently opposed. That's the standard. And again, it's not just me. Every, say, science or every technology or every concept that has massively changed humanity or the course of humanity always goes through these stages. This next phase that I'm getting into is that scientists are coming up to me. Just this past week, I've had like the Phillips, I think it's called the Phillips Knight Cancer Research in Portland. They came up to me and goes, "Hey, we want to study your ability, see if your frequencies can, cure cancer." So scientists and business people are going, "Wow, what is this thing called frequency?" And there's billions of dollars being poured into understanding frequencies, and it's turning out to be again that I live in the world of frequencies or editing frequencies for people. So,
and I think that's really what we have to look forward to. And that
yeah,
is that what you look forward to as well on your journey? Is that what you foresee, let's say, in
yeah.
the next 3 to 5 years,
Mhm.
is really being seen as a resource and as an authority in this scientific community?
Yeah, it's getting to be more and more. And, again, Albert Einstein said it best, the future of medicine, I say the future of everything, but Albert said, the future of medicine will be the future of frequencies, where you start to heal through frequencies, by the way,
Love it.
changing your frequency. The future of your success, again, is about changing your frequency. So more and more people are like studying that, which is really cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Moss, this has been so enlightening, and thank you for taking us on a journey back some time ago, over a decade ago, and seeing the evolution of your journey and walking us through and talking us through that. Just a reminder to our Exponential Intelligence listeners,
Mhm.
come back, go to the YouTube channel, find this episode and watch it, because you'll see the visual examples that we've shared in this episode, since it was so visual heavy.
Yeah.
But Moss, this has been really enlightening, and thank you so much for all the work that you do on behalf of everyone who's been touched by your work.
Oh, thank you. One last word is that those individuals who've gone through the XI journey, go back to your old photo albums, guys. Just like we did here, go back to your old photo albums and stuff and look at yourself. Look at the difference. It's like, oh my God, it's like, I can't believe that I even look more younger and more vibrant than I did ever before. Again, it's not just about me. It's about, people changing dramatically. So,
What we
and
should
that's
do,
what's
Moss,
really
is
exciting.
you should crowdsource photos, XIers,
Oh
their
yeah.
before and afters, and we'll crowdsource them and we'll put them on your Instagram.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. Yeah, we're going to actually do that on the Total Human Reset coming up. We always do that.
Perfect.
So we've got images for that. So,
That's awesome. Well, thank
all
you
right.
so much, Moss,
Well, thank you, hon.
this has been a really fun episode, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.
Thank you.